Hello and welcome to another episode of the DTF podcast.
Hey, I got a bone to pick.
Guys, I am so fired up.
Sleep deprived and all, I'm happy to be here.
You probably cut up your hot dog. You don't need it on a bun.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the DTF podcast, the Dauster, T.O. and Fanta podcast. It is Wednesday morning, 10:58 in the AM on January 31st. My name is Rob Dauster. I have Terrence Oglesby with me. We do not have John Fanta. For the people that listen to the Field of 68, you probably know why by now. Fanta's father passed away on Monday. We took some time to talk through that on Tuesday night's episode of the Field of 68 After Dark. I don't want to go over all of that again. What I will say, T.O., is that we miss Fanta. We're thinking about Fanta. And I am looking forward to the moment when Fanta feels like he is a good enough place to be able to come back and talk some hoops with us, because I know that more than anything else, that is what that man loves to do, and it's what makes him happy. And Fanta is like a puppy. All you want to do is see that man happy. So looking forward to getting him back in the mix, and I can't wait. Can't wait to see him back here. All right, we got a lot to get to today, T.O. I got to hit you on the South Carolina win at Tennessee, because there was a lot of inner turmoil. And my man, Terrence Oglesby, my guy is a Tennessee native. My guy lives in the great state of South Carolina. And I know that there was a little bit of internal battles going on with you there. I want to talk about Saturday's schedule, because there is a ridiculous slate of college basketball games that we have to get to. And I want to hit you on North Carolina's loss last night, because that's something that I think there's some things that we can take out of it. But before we do, T.O., the streets are talking, man. Before we get into any of that, the ACC is struggling. You came on here at the start of the season and said that the ACC is going to be the second best league in America. There is a conspiracy against the ACC. There is a psyop against the ACC. The league is being manipulated by conferences like the Big 12. It's bad. You've done the research. You've dug up the information, and we need to expose this to the public today. T.O., the floor is yours.
No, I just we were going back and forth before this podcast, and I just think it's curious the way this net system has been gamed, because what's happening is the Big 12 is scheduling a bunch of bad teams in the non-conference, and I have non-conference strength of schedule. But before I get to that, I want to kind of explain what's happening here. So, according to the net, your wins are capped at X amount of points. What's the X amount of points?
I think it's 20 points. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
20 points. Anything past 20 points, you only get credit for 20 points or whatever it is. That's all well and good. I'm fine with that. The problem is there's also offensive efficiency metrics and defensive efficiency metrics that come into play with the net rankings, which is all well and good. But the problem is those metrics are not capped. So while you don't get credit for blowing a team out by more than 20, when you do blow a team out by more than 20, say you beat them by 60 points or arbitrary, you play somebody in the Southland Conference and beat them by 150, your metrics aren't capped. So your metrics look crazy. They look so good.
And there's one league. Real quick, let me stop you real quick, just for the people that may not understand how the net that it is created. Nobody knows what the exact formula is, but essentially part of it is resume metrics, which is basically like who you've beaten, and it doesn't matter if you beat them by 1 or beat them by 30. It's basically what you've accomplished. There are predictive metrics, which is basically KenPom, which brings everything into account in terms of how much you beat them by, whether it was 30-point win in a 90-possession game versus a 30-point win in a 50-possession game, which is a big difference. And it's one of these things where, like, if you lose on a buzzer beater, it doesn't really impact how good you are, but it impacts what your resume looks like. So that's kind of where the difference lies. And what the net has is some of their own qualitative properties, where they take the results and they kind of push some of that stuff out. And it also has different metrics that they pull from to be able to create this one number that is used as the main sorting system for the NCAA. So when T.O. says the metrics don't cap it, he means that these other data points that are being pulled from and
they're
plugged
still
into
raising.
the net.
They're still
getting
raising
by I feel like I'm raising the roof right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Your palms are the wrong way to raise a roof, though.
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad.
But the thing is even when they're playing these bad teams and beating them really bad, and quite frankly, Rob, it's bad TV. Like you're not getting these good non-conference games. And quite frankly, now that people have started to figure this out, I wouldn't either if I'm trying to get into the tournament or I'm trying to make my league look great. Mm-hmm. So, for example, what we were going to do it on, I was going to do it on Kim Palm, the non-conference strength of schedule, and I'm just kind of sitting here and looking at it. Big 12 Houston, and they're one of the higher ranked teams in the in Kim Palm. They're number one. They're one of the highest ranked teams in the country, rightfully so. They're very good. However, non-conference strength of schedule, according to Kim Palm, 220. And they played some teams, so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. But the further you go down, BYU, you remember when everybody was really high on them? Kim Palm had them in the top 5. The net had them really high. Non-conference strength of schedule, 313. They've come back down to earth a little bit, right? Even going down to Iowa State. Iowa State's 16-4. That's all well and good. Non-conference strength of schedule, 342. How many teams are there, Rob? How many teams are there?
362.
Bingo. So Kansas, they played a tough non-con. They had UConn come at home. They play in all these great MTEs. 61. That is by far and away the best non-conference strength of schedule. The Big 12's game in the system, Baylor, 124. They played a good one. Then you get down to Oklahoma, 314. You go to TCU, 345. You can even go down to Texas Tech, 256. And those are some of the higher ones, guys. Those are some of the higher ones. They are playing nobody. And because the metrics are the way they are, it's really turned into a bad situation. And it's not a good way to predict games because you're playing bad teams. You're beating them by 75. And then your metrics and predictive measures go up. So it's a flawed system. So because everybody's on me about the ACC, and I get it. I don't know where this is coming from, but I get it. Still a lot of players drafted. Still the coaches are pretty good in that league. Still, let's be honest. How many Final Four teams in the last 3 years? 4. So you got UVA, Duke, North Carolina, Miami. Duke, non-conference strength of schedule, 215. That's one of the lower ones. The further you go down, you got to keep going down on Kim Palm. Wake Forest, let's see. We had them down here. 193. Duke 149. UNC who was this metric we were using?
This is the Nets.
They're a little more scattered out on Kim Palm, so I'm not going to use Kim Palm. I'm going to use this one.
Yeah, it's the Nets non-conference strength schedule via warrennolan.com.
Yep. UNC 49. Duke 149. UVA 119. FSU 21. NC State 305. That's been their deal forever. Wake Forest 193. Syracuse, 16. Virginia Tech, 37. Clemson, 12. Georgia Tech, 101. There's only 3 teams in the ACC above 200, according to the metric that you just mentioned. There's only 4 teams in the Big 12 below 200, according to that metric. There's no competition. They're beating the brakes off of bad teams. And as a result, they're gaming the system to where their conference looks better as a whole. And then as a result, because people aren't deep diving into this crap, we're missing. And as a result, you get less ACC teams, and yet the record still stands where they get into the NCAA tournament and they're still winning. So the problem is if Dan Gavitt comes in and he talks to a bunch of teams and he says, well, you got to schedule better. Okay, fine. ACC schedules better. Big 12 is like, no, we don't necessarily have to schedule better. We just got to beat the brakes off of teams that stink. And then we're going to be fine anyway. And then you're going to look at us like we're the standard in the country, which, by the way, like Houston, national championship contender. Kansas, I would still throw in the mix just because you expect them to figure it out. Outside of that, guys, not a whole lot of substance there. Iowa State's good. They beat a bunch of nobodies. So my flip is I was wondering because my eyes were lying to me almost because I was watching some of these games and I'm like, man, Nigel Pack, Norchad Omier, they got man Keyshawn George. Like Miami's pretty good. What am I missing? I wasn't missing. I'm not missing. It's just a matter of they have not gamed the metrics like some of these other leagues, and quite frankly, it's hurt. And the funny part about this is the only team that was in the 300s for the ACC was Louisville, and they still ended up 5-6. So not only that, they suck so bad that whenever they're playing somebody in the league, they screw up their metrics just by playing them. Just by them showing up in the gym, their stink is so bad that they dropped the league. That's how bad Louisville stinks. Make a change, Louisville. Make a change. Am I wrong in thinking all this, Rob?
Big news, guys. I am thrilled to announce that we have partnered with Autograph, a company founded by the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. The Autograph fandom app gives you access to the best college hoops content, fan contests, and exclusive rewards like discounted tickets, all for doing the things that diehard fans like you already do, following your favorite team in the news and listening to podcasts just like this one. When Tom, and yes, I am calling him Tom, we're on a first name basis these days, co-founded Autograph, he had one mission in mind: change the fan experience for the better. It works like this. You get all of your college hoops content you want in one place. You get articles from your favorite writers, pods from your favorite hosts, contests from your favorite creators, all on the feeds and the sites that you already enjoy. But instead of having to go to all these different places, it all comes to you in one spot, the Autograph fandom app. But here's the best part. The more content that you consume, the higher you rank in the app. As you consider the level up in status on the app, you can unlock unique rewards curated exclusively for you. So download the free Autograph app in the App Store and use the referral code F68, that's F68, or tap in at the link in the description below or in the podcast app of your choosing to start earning points for doing something as normal as listening to this very podcast. It really is that simple. No, look, you're
like, there's a lot here. Like, I've watched a lot of hoop in my day. I've watched a lot of hoop. Like, there's talent in the ACC. And the coaching, I realize there's a lot of recycling, but there's dudes in that league and they keep winning in the tournament. So, like, what am I missing? What am I missing?
So here's what I always come back to with this. It is impossible to be able to rank 68 teams out of 362, right? Like, this is basically an impossible task that we are asking the NCAA selection committee to make happen, right? And creating a metric to be able to evaluate and kind of stack these teams on top of each other is something that is like the only way that you can do that is by creating some kind of data system to figure all that stuff out for you, and then let the computers handle it, right? And then just kind of trust what they say. No matter what that formula is, no matter what that metric is, eventually somebody is going to figure out a way to be able to manipulate it. We saw it happen.
And Big 12 figured it out quick.
Yeah, we saw it happen with the RPI. We're seeing it happen with the net. We've seen it happen with KenPom. Like, this was a thing a couple years ago where like Pitt and Wisconsin would always end up being like a top 3 team in KenPom. And I believe KenPom is on record. I didn't look this up before the podcast, but I believe he's on record of saying that like he changed what his formula was like in the mid-teens because of how it the numbers that it spit out for Wisconsin and Pitt with like a slow pace, beating teams by 25, whatever. So there's always going to be a way to kind of game the system. And I think that the Big 12 has kind of figured this out a little bit. My thing is, I don't necessarily know if that's like an intentional thing that they did, or if they just kind of put together these schedules. They have these teams that are pretty good, a bunch of teams in this conference that are like top 30-ish kind of teams. They all went out and they all won the games that they were supposed to win. And as a result, this is what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if this was necessarily something where they all got together and said, listen, this is what you got to do. You got to go out and you got to schedule nothing but like teams that are going to end up being ranked 120 in the net. So you can beat them by 25 and you beat them at home. And then it looks really, really good at the end of the day in your metrics. And we're all going to eat as a result of this, or if it was just kind of something that happened.
I call bullshit. Iowa State started out the season against Green Bay 205, Lindenwood 347, Grambling 314, Idaho State 278, and they beat Green Bay 85-44. They beat Lindenwood 102-47. They beat Idaho State 86-55. They beat Grambling 92-37. That is insane. It's good for nobody. It doesn't help your players at all because and here's the thing, he's keeping his starters in through the whole 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it sucks. Yeah, this whole thing sucks.
Yeah. So this is where I've kind of settled, is that the way that you have to schedule with the way that the metrics in the system is kind of set up is basically what UConn did, right? And if you go back and look at UConn's schedule, they have these ridiculous marquee games. They went to the Empire Classic where they played Indiana, who was supposed to be better than they are right now. And then they played Texas, who was supposed to be better than they are right now. Like those are 3 preseason top 25 teams in that event. They go on the road. They play at Kansas, top 10 team. They play North Carolina in the Jimmy V Classic, top 10 team. They go out to Seattle and they play Gonzaga, who was like supposed to be a top 15 team. That's kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit, but still, like you get those 5 marquee games. You want to know who else they played? Northern Arizona, 300. Stonehill, 1-20 on the season, 358. Mississippi Valley State, 0-21 on the season, 362 in the net. They are literally the worst team in college basketball. Manhattan, 4-13 on the season, 300 in the net. New Hampshire's actually pretty good in their conference, and then Arkansas Pine Bluff, another sub 300 team. So you get these marquee games, these huge games where even if you lose them, it ain't going to hurt you. Going on the road and losing at Kansas is going to help you in the metrics, especially if you lose by 4. And then you get these teams that you're not going to lose to, you're going to beat by 1 million, and that stuff is going to end up helping you at the end of the day as well. So that is what we're going to end up seeing more and more of. And I don't know if that is a good thing for the sport.
It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing because we have complained about like there's not enough games in the non-conference. Well, no shit. They're being rewarded for blowing out Stonehill. And God bless Stonehill. What is it? Their 2nd year in Division I? Like they're just a sacrificial lamb at this point. Like it's insane. It helps nobody. And the problem is now, like, this really sucks if you're a team, arbitrary league, Big West, Southern Conference, Sun Belt, Big South, like some of these right in the middle leagues, you're screwed. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can do. Like you're not going to be able to schedule anybody. So there's no opportunity for you. And the whole thing behind the net was it's what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Everybody has a shot. Horse shit. They have figured that out. And now nobody has been able to get some of these games at the mid-major level. It's crap. The net system needs to be revamped because the capping of the wins, that's all well and good. It's the capping of the metrics that really suck and it really screws you, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. Iowa State beating teams by 90 points. Who does that help? It doesn't help the TV rights. Doesn't help that. A lot of these middling conference teams, the Iowa States of the world, the Mizzous of the world, like they're not the Kentucky, they're not the Kansas. So I'm not telling you people something you don't know, but like you're not going to find some of these middle of this league team plays middle of that league team outside of an MTE. It's just not going to happen. So it's to be honest, it's been kind of disturbing. Once this was brought to light, and I'm not going to say who brought it to light, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like it's unbelievable. You can't go one way and be like, well, we need better non-conference games. Okay, fine, we'll do that, and then fucking punish people because they do it. It's insane. And to be honest with you, when you say that there's something about Otzelberger that makes me think like that dude knows what he's doing all the time, and he's kind of a mad genius and kind of a person that's willing to do stuff that's a little scummy. I'm not saying he's ever done that.
I don't know about
he's never done.
I don't know about a little scummy, but he's never
done anything bad. But you look at him and the way he does his interviews is like that dude. If he could there's a cookie on the table and it's the last cookie, that dude's gonna grab that cookie. There's no freaking doubt about it. No doubt about it in my mind. He's never done anything scummy. It's just that's the wrong word, and I apologize to Iowa State fans. That's the wrong word, but.
Tio's fired up, guys. He's got to get this out.
But he doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to let anything go, and he's going to figure that out quickly. And he doesn't mind beating Mississippi Valley State or what arbitrary school by 100 points because that's just what's going to be best for him. And that sucks. It sucks for the viewer. It sucks for the fan. The net sucks in general because you've seen the seeding over the past couple of years. It's been freaking miserable. So like there needs to be a change in the scheduling. I've looked for what am I missing? And it's the strength of schedule. This is a bad system to see the tournament.
Yep. It's also interesting to see how this kind of flipped from a couple of years ago when it was the RPI, when I think Tim Miles was kind of the first guy in the Mountain West when he was at Colorado State that really figured out how to work the RPI and get that thing to work in his favor. So feel better to get that out?
Yeah, it doesn't make you feel good, but it's like it'd be nice if you could edit out the F word that I said. But outside of that, like it's just because my eyes aren't lying to me. But and here's the thing: like some dudes know ball, some dudes don't know ball. Like the more you watch, the problem is the people of the selection committee. There's so many teams that you have to have a metric, and it's impossible. But you also need somebody in that room that watches enough college ball that's going to help you be like, hey man, that's a tournament team. That's not a tournament team. You know, it's bananas to me. This whole thing is bananas to me.
Yeah. I also go back and forth on, I know everybody loves KenPom, right? And I think that the way that that KenPom uses efficiency metrics is the best way to evaluate how good a team is. And my sole issue with it is that I know that there's no difference in quality. Like if a buzzer beater's in the air, right, and you're down by one, there's no difference in how good you are as a basketball team if that shot goes in or if that shot doesn't go in. That shot is also the sole, like the most important moment in a game. If that shot goes in and you win, that shot has to, it doesn't matter more than any other shot during the game, if that makes sense, but it has to matter more than every shot during the game. So because winning has to matter, right? So I think that the intention of the net was smart. I think that I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm like some genius mathematician, but if teams have kind of figured out how you get around it, then like, you know, let's tweak it a little bit. Let's find a way to be able to make this thing so that it's a little bit better. It's the intention is not the wrong thing here. It's just, you know, once you figure out how to game the system, you got to fix the system a little bit until someone will figure out how to game it again. And then we'll go through
It's been gamed.
Advance. Yeah.
It's been gamed.
So you guys have that.
Seen.
Yep. So there you are. It is official. The ACC is the victim of a Big 12 led conspiracy. T.O., I appreciate you doing the investigative work, the detective work to get to the bottom of this issue. And I got your back, man. Here's what we're going to do now. You know, I'm a Big East guy. I know you're a Big East guy. I know you're
I am a big, huge Big East guy. Huge Big East guy.
You're not huge. You're a huge Big East guy. You're a Mountain West guy. And now you're also the savior of the ACC. You're a man that wears many hats, Terrence Oglesby. That's right. So I'm with you, man. I'm riding with you.
Just keep me out of the Big Ten. Keep me out of the Big Ten. Anything with a big,
want you up there, man. They don't want
nobody wants to be in the Big Ten in those bad states with that horrible weather. But
except Robbie Hummel.
Robbie.
Yeah, Robbie Hummel is every single time I turn on a Big Ten game, Robbie Hummel is calling it. I could watch. So I watched Illinois play Ohio State last night, and I watched Michigan play Michigan State last night. And somehow Robbie Hummel was calling both of those games. He was at both of them. And then I flip over to the Big Ten Network, and Robbie Hummel's there in studio breaking down everything that happened in the Big Ten games that he just called on Peacock. So Robbie Hummel's everywhere, man.
There's 3 of them.
Yes, there's 3 of them. As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 each and every week of the college basketball season. We have a special offer that will be available starting on Tuesday, January 9th and running through Monday, February 12th, the morning after Super Bowl 58. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, in honor of the big game, you can use the bonus code FIELD158 and you'll get $158 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD158. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive $158 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD158 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create separate accounts in each state. It's easy, it's simple, it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the heart of the college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odd boosts, and my favorite, a nice juicy parlay boost. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Field 158. All right, so sticking in the ACC, let's talk a little bit about North Carolina. They lost last night at Georgia Tech. I think RJ Davis played fantastic. The rest of that roster was not great. Cormac Ryan, Harrison Ingram combined 6 for 28 from the floor. And I just closed out the box score on my desktop, but they were not very good from three as well. So what do you make of this loss? What do you make of Georgia Tech? What do you make of, does this impact the way that you view North Carolina at all?
No, Georgia Tech's a weird place to play. It really is. It's a different, how the pit works, wherever you have to walk down a mile to get down to the floor. Georgia Tech kind of has the same thing, but they finally added locker rooms beside the floor to where at least the visiting team could go in there and talk. No, it's a tough place to play. Somebody tweeted this out. I can't remember who it was. I wish I did because I would quote them. But the last two coaches to beat North Carolina and Duke in the same season, do you know who they were?
Josh Pastner?
In their first season at their new school. Do you know
first season?
First season.
I do not. Who are they?
Kevin Keats.
Okay.
Sidney Lowe, both at NC State.
All right.
So is this a predictor of like how successful Damon Stoudemire is going to be? Probably not. But what I will say is it's, we love our guy Pastner. I love Josh. I think a breath of fresh air with Damon coming in there, and he's going to be able to get guys out of Atlanta. He's going to be able to take on that recruiting scene. There's guys on that roster with Kawasi Reeves, who was a top 30 kid coming out, and so that Bay and Dongo has turned out to be a really good player. He didn't play much last night, but he's turned out to be a really good player, multi-time ACC freshman of the year. I think Georgia Tech's going to get going, and they're a tough out. And here's the thing: I understand, like, it takes time. They haven't won a whole lot of games, but they did win at Clemson, and then they win at home against North Carolina. They got to take care of the other ones, and they've played close with Duke and some of these other teams. It's not going to be easy to turn that place around because it's hard to get kids into school at Georgia Tech. There's some inherent disadvantages at Georgia Tech, but I think it's going to take a while. But I also think, hey, they're going to continue to improve, and they're going to get some players there. I'm fairly confident in saying so.
Damon Stoudemire, like who wouldn't?
Yeah, it's Damon Stoudemire. How could you not want to play for him? Every interview he does is awesome. I mean,
and he's Damon Stoudemire, his Mighty Mouse. Like, I don't know how many. Maybe the kids that are coming into college these days don't remember him, but all you got.
I don't think they do. But here's where he might.
Compilation. It's really not. There's a million of them out there. Like, go play and be like, hey, look, I was a bad motherfucker one day. Okay,
they have the Portland Jailblazers on NBA 2K, and Damon's a starting point guard. So the players might know who he is. Like might know him from his playing days too. Obviously, he's been a good coach. Dude, if you're going 500 at Pacific, like, you're doing a heck of a job. That's a tough gig. And then he goes from there to Boston Celtics, stays there for a while. I think he's going to be fine. I think Georgia Tech's in a good spot. I think they made the right hire. They're a tough out. Going back to North Carolina, though.
Real quick, true or false statement. You are a little bit biased towards Stoudemire because you're a big fan of guys named Damon. True or false?
Yes, that could also be true. My son was fired up because he was watching. His name's Damon. What? His name's Damon. Losing his mind.
My son's named Chase, and anytime we drive by a bank, he's like, Dad, that's my name over there. It's pretty funny when people see their name and they react.
No, Damon, he goes nuts. Made the All-Star team, by the way. Had a 20-piece last night at one point. Landed Damon, shout out to him. No, but it's Georgia Tech's going to be fine. Going back to North Carolina, though, Harrison Ingram, Cormac Ryan, they just had an off night. I'm not overly worried. I think those two kids are talented. I don't know how many more games the rest of the season where both of those guys are going to combine for 6 of 28 from the field. I just don't think that's going to happen. This was an off shooting night. Basketball's a long season. I'm losing zero faith in North Carolina. I like that team, and I'm going to continue to like that team. I think Hubert's done a fantastic job with that bunch.
Yeah, if a foul gets called at the end, RJ Davis makes both free throws. It's an entirely different conversation.
It wasn't a foul. It wasn't a foul. What a foul.
Would that foul have gotten called if it was Tyrese Proctor playing in Cameron Indoor Stadium?
Apparently so. Apparently so.
All right.
Ridiculous. Hey, you know what, Jeff? We were doing a show last night. Jeff was like, well, Armando Bacot has to be a guy. I don't agree with that. I don't agree. You don't need 15 and 15 from Armando anymore. Because quite frankly, he's not that good of an offensive player. Like, what I mean by that is, like, he's not the most skilled. He's not going to step out and shoot. He's not going to drop step you to death. What you need him to be is what he is. He needs to be the best rebounder in North Carolina history. He needs to be a rim catcher and a dunker. That's pretty much it. If you can get 2 post moves and scores a game, I think you're thrilled with that. But I think there's enough talent with Cormac and Harrison Ingram and Elliot Cadeau and RJ to where you don't need him to be that guy this year. And quite frankly, I think they're better off because of it. And he can go back to doing what he's great at. And when I say great, all-time leader in North Carolina history, great rebounder. That's just what he is. Guys, there's nothing wrong with that. Let him be that.
And I think that part of the reason why North Carolina is as good as they are this season is that he's
less of a factor
when it comes to like he's like, I will do my job. I don't need to go out here and try to prove who I am. I will do my job. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I tend to agree with you more than I agree with Jeff. It would be nice to see him.
I think that's a general thing.
Yeah. No, sometimes I just want to see Baycott, like, you're just waiting for that game where he goes for like 28 and 20.
I don't think it's coming this year.
Yeah,
it might come against Louisville.
But I'm saying, like, he gets 14 offensive rebounds and finishes like 9 of them from, you know what I mean? Like, at some point you're just kind of waiting for that blow up game. But like at the end of the day, RJ Davis is the guy that's going to carry you where you need to go. So
yes.
All right. South Carolina, the other Carolina, the Carolina that you currently live in. The
Carolinas and the Carolinas are in the center of the basketball universe.
They are the center of the basketball universe, and T.O. is the center of the Carolinas. Oh, man. They go on the road. They go into Knoxville. They go into good old Rocky Top, and they pick up a win against the Vols, despite the fact that Dalton Connect went for 31. And he is on another planet right now. He's averaging 28.4 points in SEC play,
awesome.
which is like stupid. The SEC is the best conference in college, or one of the best conferences in college basketball. And this dude's averaging 28.4 points per game in the SEC. What are we?
He's a slippery version of Matt Harpring.
Okay. I'm just
you remember Matt Harpring?
No, I do. I remember his game too. I'm just trying to process.
Well, they're about the same size. Harpring was bigger, like more physical. That was back in the creatine age. Like, you know what I mean? Like they were huge, but like he's much better off the bounce. But like
he's a slippery Matt Harpring. It might be like my favorite T.O. comparison of all.
He's a slippery Matt Harpring.
You guys don't understand
really well. He plays tough as shit. Yeah.
T.O. in group chats has lots of like off the wall comparisons where you're like, I don't know if this is a crazy comparison, but enter crazy comparison. Like that might be the funniest one you've ever had. He's a
slippery Matt Harpring. He's going to play in the NBA a long time. Mm-hmm. Dalton Connect this. He's a special player. And I think it's such a cool thing where I think he was like 5'11" or something and then shot up to 6'6" or whatever he is now.
He was 5. I talked to him about this. I want to say he was 5'4" in 8th grade. Trying to remember the 5'11" as a junior, sprouted up, got a JUCO scholarship coming out of JUCO. The only places that really went after him were, I think it was Drake and Northern Colorado. I'm sorry if I got that one wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Drake and Northern Colorado, and he was from Denver. He's like, I'm just going to stay home, you know, and goes there. His junior year, he only averaged like 8.5 points. Like it wasn't like he walked into Division I basketball and changed the game. Averaged 8.5 points as a junior, averaged 21 as a senior, and then he goes to the SEC and he's even better in the SEC than he was playing in the Big West. Like that doesn't happen.
Late bloomer.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so, Tio. But let's talk about South Carolina. Let's talk about the Gamecocks.
They're for real.
Teflon Cooper. Talon Cooper. I call him Teflon Cooper because he is indestructible.
Bentley won't shut up about him.
David Bentley is my guy.
David Bentley will not shut up about.
We get it. Cooper. We get it, Bentley.
We get it, dude. You coached him. We get it.
Yeah, congratulations. Good for you. You've reached Goodman and Charleston levels of we know, Bentley. We know.
That's exactly where we're at with Bentley and Talon Cooper. We get it, bro. We get it. That's where we're at. Hey, man, South Carolina's good. God,
really
rank
good.
them. Shit, rank them. I mean, they've gotten smacked once all year. What are they, 18-3? Yeah, 18-3. They've gotten smacked once at Alabama, and Alabama was reeling and needed one. They get lost at home to Georgia. Georgia's better this year. Not great, but better. And then, like, here we go, non-conference strength of schedule. Like, they were able to play Virginia Tech. Grand Canyon's at 62. Like, better. It's fine. Their non-conference wasn't great. That all being said, it's a team that they play really slow. So they're almost in that Virginia area as far as pace is concerned. And what happens is it narrows that margin to where, like, if you're not quite as talented as a Tennessee or as a Kentucky, you're able to slow it down to a crawl And because of that, you're going to play within 2 or 3 possessions the whole game, as opposed to if you try to play faster, that game can slip away from you and it's 10 to 15 points quickly.
You know what it is? You know what it is more than anything with teams that play at that pace? It takes you out of your rhythm. Like, it's just such a pain in the ass when you want to kind of get up and down the floor and you're trying to get easy buckets and you're trying to play like this fun, beautiful, free-flowing style of basketball where you just got this team that is walking it up and they don't start their offense till there's 18 seconds left on the clock and they don't get a shot up until there's 3 seconds left.
And you're running through 6 screens. Like,
yeah,
that was the worst sometimes. Like, it was hard to play against faster teams like North Carolina when they were like great in 708, 0809. Like, it was hard to play against them, sure. But the game was, when it slowed down to a crawl. I remember we played Villanova in the first round of the NCAA tournament. It was Scotty Reynolds and it was Antonio Pena and what was it?
You won that
Dante
game as a
Cunningham.
12 seed, right?
It was a 5-12. And they just slipped in the tournament. And I remember, like, it wasn't like that to where like they're setting flex screens and shit, but everything hurt and everything slowed down. So it was really hard to kind of get into a rhythm. And we were much more of a free flowing, moving motion offense kind of team. And then they just basically slowed it down and beat us up with their big dudes. And that's hard. Like that's a really hard thing to kind of combat, especially when you rely on rhythm.
Yep. And South Carolina is reaping the rewards of that right now. And it's not just like, look, Lamont is a hell of a coach, man.
Great coach, national coach of the year right now.
Yeah, he's right there in that conversation. I think he is.
He's got my vote.
There's a lot of guys that have done a really good job in the SEC. I think you got to put him at the top of the SEC list. You know what? Here's what I'll ask you. Like Michi Johnson, Taylor, like they've been really, really good.
Michi Johnson's good.
Yeah,
like he was at Ohio State. It was like it was like he never got a chance to flourish. I think last year with G.G. Jackson was a disaster. And this year he got a bunch of guys, Lamont got a bunch of guys that are tough, hard-nosed dudes that are going to sit down and guard and completely buy in. Last year he didn't have buy-in. Gigi he knew from the word scrimmage at the beginning of the season that he was trying to go in the lottery. And because he was so bad there, he wasn't a lottery pick. And he was, quite frankly, for all intents and purposes, was very selfish when he was there. So like, because he didn't buy in, they struggled. And then now they got Michi Johnson, who's been there a while. He's an Ohio State transfer who's been awesome. BJ Mack just knows how to play. He was on some really good Wofford teams. Colin Murray Boyles, he's starting late. That dude's got some Trevor Booker in him. I saw that kid play in high school, 6'7", 231 right now. He's going to put on a little more weight. He's explosive. Jacoby Wright has stuck around. Miles Studi has been a nice pickup from Vanderbilt, who shot the ball well, right at 41%. And Talon Cooper is a dude. Like, they're strong, they're physical, they play with an edge, and they play within themselves. And if you play within yourself, Lamont's going to put you in spots to be successful. Like, really, really a fun team to watch. Their only 3 losses aren't terrible. Clemson, Alabama, Georgia.
Yep. I think
2 of those being away.
Yeah, it was big for them getting Kentucky and winning at Tennessee, right? Like, I think that they looked good on paper and you could talk yourself into them before that. And now they actually have the wins to back it because they smacked Kentucky. And I think that was a bad matchup for Kentucky, and that was the tough environment they played in.
Hey, and if Dalton Connect doesn't have 12 in like the last 40 seconds, they smacked Tennessee in Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
Like that game was controlled by South Carolina.
Yep. Coming up, their next 3 games at Georgia, Ole Miss at home, Vanderbilt at home. We could be looking at a situation where they are going on the road to Auburn, sitting at 9-2. Here's the crazy thing, Tio. They play at Auburn on Valentine's Day. They get Tennessee at home on March 6th, and that is it for games against the top 4 in the
They could win a regular season.
There is a very real chance season. If they take care of business at Georgia, Ole Miss at home, Vanderbilt at home, LSU at home, at Ole Miss, at Texas A&M, Florida at home, at Mississippi State, right? You take care of business against those. Even if you drop one of them and you lose at Auburn and lose to Tennessee at home, you're sitting there at 15-5 of the SEC, and 15-5 in the SEC might win the SEC this season. It's crazy to think about that. They could do
Columbia, light Columbia on fire. And here's the crazy part. They'll win the league. And the day that they win the league, the South Carolina radio stations will be talking about offensive line.
That's
the hard part about South Carolina and why they'll never be as good as what you think.
Accurate. But look, I'm going to give them credit.
One thing. Hey, thanks for reminding me. I just wrote down. I had my notes with the strength of schedule stuff. I also wrote down Valentine's Day because I had no idea what day that was. I had no idea. So make sure you write down Valentine's Day for those listening.
Last night you made very obvious that you thought it was like January 11th.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I dude, this season it's been insane. Since October, I'm averaging like 15 games a month.
Yeah,
between Hornets and college stuff, it's crazy, and I have to be there. I'm not doing anything remote. I'm there.
Yeah, it's a lot. We have a lot of travel coming up as well. March is. I have no idea how.
Have you announced what we're doing?
Not yet.
I'm so excited that I get to be a part. I thought I wasn't going to be able to be a part of any of it. I'll be there. Mm-hmm. You don't know where I'll be, DTF Nation. You don't know where I'll be, but I'll be there.
DTF Nation.
Call me what you want. Don't call me that.
You know, it's funny. It's the only thing bigger than DTF Nation right now is the Swifties, right? It goes Taylor Swift, the Swifties, and then DTF Nation right there below.
Hey, we're making a hard charge. We're making a hard charge for second.
We're coming at you. Now that the college football season is in the past and college basketball is in full swing, I need to tell you guys about our partners over at Rhythm. If you're into sports betting, you need Rhythm, the place for data-backed props and picks. For those that are unfamiliar, Rhythm, spelled RITHMM, is the go-to mobile app for player props and game picks, backed by AI predictive models. Rhythm helps you make smarter and faster betting decisions across all sports, but particularly college hoops, where there are as many as 150 games a day during conference play, many of which have softer lines at BetMGM than you'll find in the NFL or in the NBA. With Rhythm, you get data-backed picks for every Division I game every day. Users get free picks daily with the ability to upgrade to unlimited access. And for those of you already using modeling, you can build custom sports betting models within the Rhythm app itself. I am a Rhythm user, and I've found that I've been a better bettor when I focus on the lines where my gut and Rhythm's modeling are aligned. To kick off the partnership between the Field of 68 and Rhythm, 3 people who download Rhythm at the link below and create an account between now and the end of the day on Thursday will be entered for a chance to win a free subscription with access to unlimited picks for college basketball, the NBA, the NFL, and more. So if you want to increase your edge and win more bets, go to the link in the description and download Rhythm today. That's RITHMM, the place for data-backed props and picks. All right, last thing I want to do, I want to talk a little bit about Saturday's games, Saturday's schedule. I have 8 games written down that I think are all going to be really good. I have the KenPom projected spreads in front of me, so I'm going to give it all to you. T.O., we are both going to make picks for each and every one of these games. Do you think you can handle it?
It's hard for me to play both sides of the fence when I have to pick the winner.
Yeah, you got.
That's
no,
my
no,
only
no,
issue
no, no.
with
You
this.
got you pick. You got to pick against the spread, so you could pick the loser. And
Okay.
Cover 4 points. Yeah. All right,
enough.
we're going to start with the most anticipated game in the Big East since Ed Cooley returned to Providence, which was like 3 days ago. And by the way,
Hey, that's gone great. By the way,
we didn't even talk about that. I'm saving that.
let's not talk about that. I'm over it.
I'm just saving the conversation about like our time in Providence for when Fanta gets back here, because I want to tell some of the stories from the show that we were at and all we did there. And I don't.
Where is T.O. Chance? We're funny.
Yeah,
well done.
Like I want to talk about that, but we need to have Fanta here for that, because that was John Fanta in his element more than anything I've ever seen in my life, and it was incredible. Awesome. All right, so we'll start with this. Dan Hurley and the UConn Huskies going on the road to take on Rick Pitino and St. John's. That game will be played not in Carnesecca Arena, in Madison Square Garden, at the disappointment of Rick Pitino.
At the behest of Rick Pitino.
The KenPom projection right now: UConn by 4. T.O., who you got?
This would scream Rick Pitino gets one done and talks shit the entire next 3 days. It screams that. However, I don't think they have enough. I think UConn's going to come in there. It's going to be a 50-50 crowd. There's no home court advantage there at MSG as much as Rick's chagrin, if you will. And I think that UConn's going to go in there and win. I just think they're going to be ready for that game. That's not a game they're going to have to sneak into emotionally. Like, they're going to be charged and ready to go because of the energy. I think UConn wins that one. And I think they win it by 10.
Yeah, I think that UConn will win that game as well. What people are kind of discounting is how impactful the return of a healthy Donovan Clingan is. The first time that we saw him healthy all season long was at home against a good Xavier team, and not a great Xavier team, a good Xavier team with a great coach in Sean Miller. And that game was 38-7 at the under 8 timeout in the first half. So Donovan Clingan, a complete game changer defensively, and I'm very curious to see how the season plays out. UConn wins that game. I think you're right. It's a double-digit game. Houston at Kansas, Fall Allen Fieldhouse. Jeff Goodman will be in attendance. That will be one of the 3 games that we have people at on Saturday. Right now, Ken Pom, Houston, -5 in the Fall.
That's crazy. That's a crazy one right there. Houston wins, Kansas covers.
So I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out on what feels like a limb here and say that Kansas wins this game. I don't even need the points. I'll take the money line on this one. I think Kansas is going to find a way to win. They are 4-3 in the conference. I'm sorry, 5-3 now after beating Oklahoma State. But the 4-3 start was the worst start that Bill Self has ever had in the Big 12, and I think that he knows it. I think that those fans know it, and I think that with the team that is currently in first place in the Big 12 coming into the Fog, you got to play 8 on 5 there, T.O. We know that.
Hey, I understand that Houston just beat Texas, and I don't think that's a good win.
Texas has been better. Texas has been better.
How?
They're starting to actually win games instead of losing games.
they just lost to Houston and BYU. They beat Baylor at home, Oklahoma on the road, but they lost to UCF and West Virginia. Yeah, are they a tournament team?
What are the two? What are the two?
Is Texas a tournament team?
What are those two games? So you talked about those 2 losses at the top. You talked about the 2 losses they just got. What were those 2 games in the middle?
I said Baylor and Oklahoma. I said that.
Yeah, they won those games. So they were playing a little better, right?
Are they? They're 14-7. They're 3-5 in league.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
And look at their non-conference. Okay, so back to it. Look at their non-conference. Incarnate Word, Delaware State, 333-317.
Well,
they beat them by 30.
What was that school? What was that school called?
Incarnate Word. Incarnate
Word.
That's right. 88-56. That's a 32 piece. Delaware State, they beat them by 37 or whatever. My math sucks right now. 27, excuse me. Rice, they beat them by 16. Louisville, they beat them by 1. Hey, Texas they're on the wrong side of the bubble as far as I'm concerned. That's not a very good team. Sorry, guys. It's true. 3-5 in league. And you don't have a single marquee win in the non-conference unless you want to hang your head on an LSU win. That's it.
LSU just caught a stray there. All right. Next up, Marquette.
LSU. Yeah, I'm going to leave that alone because I like McMahon.
Marquette coming off of a really impressive win at Villanova. Tyler Kolek, 32 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, 5 of 8 shooting from 3.
Big East bad man.
Night. Like he came back with a vengeance. He looked like he had a point to prove there. Right now, Ken Pom is saying that they're going to go into DC and beat Ed Cooley's Georgetown Hoyas by 13 points. T.O.
Take the points. Just go Marquette.
Yeah.
Big East bad man. Tyler Kolek.
Yeah.
Take the points.
Yeah. Marquette is going to win that game. I think that they blow them out. Again, it's another one where Georgetown kind of had their Super Bowl last weekend, right? And there's a little bit of an inevitable letdown there, and there's not much to look forward to when you have 1 win in conference. At least you're not in last place, Georgetown.
I believe it's called a hangover.
Yes. Utah State, San Diego State, a battle of what a lot of people will say are the 2 best teams. This is the toughest game that I think Utah State is going to have this season. They are currently in first place in the Mountain West, and Ken Pom is saying that the first place Utah State Aggies are 4-point underdogs in the show. T.O.
It's in San Diego at VA House. I'm going San Diego State. Just big physical. I realize San Diego State, they just dropped one, I believe. To Colorado State at Colorado State. They're going to get back on the right track there. I love what Danny Sprinkle's done. The fact that he doesn't have a single point returning from last season to this season. And then he's been able to, get that kind of record. Good for him. But the VA House is a different place now. It's a tough place to play. It's extremely physical, and you can go man for man with Ledee and Great Osabor. So I would go San Diego State. What's the spread?
San Diego State -4. I'm going to take the points, Theo. You're going to give those points away. You can give me the points. And
you can take the points. I think it's going to end up being 6-7 points.
Yeah, I just love the matchup between Jaden Ledee and Great Osabor, and I think that Darius Brown is a guy that's been through some wars for Danny Sprinkle before, and I think that Utah State finds a way to keep this one close. I would not be surprised if they went in there and got a victory. You're an ACC guy. We got a big ACC game on Saturday evening. Tyler Hansbrough will be there. He'll be in the house at the Dean Dome. Duke at North Carolina. North Carolina is projected to be a 6-point favorite in this game by KenPom.
Oh, this is such a quintessential, like Duke goes in there despite kind of being under, like, I'm not going to say underwhelming because they're still very good, but kind of being looked at as the immediate underdog and them coming out and just playing well. Here's where I think it plays into Duke's hands a little bit with this particular matchup in general. North Carolina, very much a jump shooting team. Very much a jump shooting team. With Cormac Ryan, Harrison Ingram will attack some. Jalen Withers, when he comes off the bench, he'll attack some. Cadeau's definitely a rim attack guy. Not a whole lot of rim protection for Duke. But you saw it last game against Georgia Tech with Cormac Ryan and Harrison Ingram going 6 of 20. What was it? 6 of 28 combined. That can't happen. And you know that they're not going to go in there and dunk on you. So I think if there's a game defensively that it works out for, it's Duke. What's the points?
6.
Take the points. Take the points. Duke. It'll be closer than that because that game's always close. It doesn't matter. I think the like all-time score is like divided by 2 or 3 points or something asinine. Like it's crazy. Go ahead and take the points. It's going to be closer than that. It'll be last second shot kind of deal.
That's what happens every year in one of these games. Right? There's always a buzzer beater. It's a rivalry game, and I think North Carolina is a better team. I think they're playing at home. I think they're rightfully favored, and I think Duke is going to go in there and make you some money. And if you are going to be on Duke's side of the action, Iowa State taking on Baylor. That game is going to be at Baylor.
Baylor.
It is. It's Baylor -3 is what KenPom has. Baylor.
Yeah, Baylor's lost 3 in a row. They're looking to revamp. Iowa State is Iowa State. They're good, but I just, Baylor's shooting 41% from 3 on the year. They're going to have to defend better, but those last 3 games, they've been close. Kansas State in OT. Huh?
Well, here's what I'll say. You're 100% correct, and this is why you're 100% correct. Baylor's lost 3 in a row. Overtime loss at Kansas State. Last second buzzer beater loss at Texas. 3 overtime loss at home against TCU, right? They're basically 3 possessions away from having a 3 from being undefeated in the Big 12. They are the best 3-point shooting team in college basketball when you factor in the percentage that they shoot and the number of threes, the percentage of field goal attempts they take from beyond the arc. Iowa State, you know what their defense is, T.O.? Keep you out of the paint, force you to shoot threes. There's only 15 teams in all of college basketball that force their opponents to take a higher percentage of jump shots from outside the 3-point line. So Iowa State's going to make a great 3-point shooting team shoot threes at home, and they badly need this win after 3 losses. By the dip, baby. By the dip. Baylor wins by a bunch. Tennessee at Kentucky. This one is, Tennessee coming off of a loss. Do you think that they can go in there to Rupp Arena and find a way to bounce back? By the way, I will be at this game. I am so excited to be at this game.
That's going to be fun for you. That'll be
12 years since I've been to Rupp Arena. Can't wait to get back.
Young team at Kentucky. They obviously haven't played. They had obviously a huge rivalry game. I feel like Tennessee's rivals with them, Florida, Georgia, the rivals with everybody. But the Kentucky-Tennessee basketball thing's a real deal. I think because Tennessee's so physical, they're going to slow the tempo. There might be a broken bone or two. And then Dalton Connect. That just feels like a game he would go for 40, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like here's kind of the matchup to watch. Him and Antonio Reeves very similar in their stats for the season over the last 5 or so games. Connect's been out of his mind, but Antonio Reeves is having a great year. He's just kind of been overshadowed by all these freshmen, the Reed Shepherds and the DJ Wagners and all those guys. Antonio Reeves has been awesome. That's a matchup to watch. I do think the Zakai Ziegler is kind of a guy that could give a freshman some problems. I think Tennessee goes up there and gets a win on the road.
All right.
And I'm probably my inbox can be nuts, but I think it's possible that Tennessee goes up there and just beats them up.
Yeah, I'm glad that you went that way, because I think that this is the game where like Kentucky shows up and shows out. There's one thing that I would buy into with this group of freshmen, is that when it's loud, when there's a whole bunch of big blue nation in that building, when that, what is it, 23,000 or whatever.
I've heard it's not loud in there.
So big games, it gets loud. When it's not big games, it can be just a little bit of, like, you know how they talk about Carolina
theater.
Yeah, like with the wine and cheese crowd, there's a bunch of like older season ticket holders that sit lower that aren't going to sit there and scream their heads off in a 15-point win against whoever. But in a big game like this, it'll be loud, it'll be raucous, there will be energy in the building. And those freshmen, I call them, T.O., can you tell me if this is an acceptable nickname for the three freshmen? DJ Sheppingham.
I'm not mad at it.
All right.
DJ Sheppingham, I'm a fan.
DJ Sheppingham. I think that they're going to show up and just have massive performances here. So, yeah, I'm taking Kentucky to win. So we're on opposite sides of that duel. So that'll be interesting to see. Maybe we should put a little wager on it. Maybe
Tennessee needs to turn it into a judo match.
Yep. Last one. A game that has actually turned into one of the more fascinating games between these two programs at the top of the WCC. St. Mary's struggled a lot in the early part of the season, have really turned things around. Gonzaga have great metrics, have beaten absolutely nobody. They are not even in our current NCAA tournament bracket. They're playing each other. They are playing in the kennel. I think Gonzaga needs this one a little bit more, but it's kind of looking like this is going to end up being a one-bid league unless one of those two teams sweeps and the other one wins the WCC automatic bid. St. Mary's on the road, +5. You like them?
I do like St. Mary's, and they attack the offensive glass as well as anyone in college basketball. They're big. They're the only problem with them, quite frankly, Dauster, is they're one of the worst free throw shooting teams, and that was readily evident when I had their game in Idaho Falls, where it was cold, and they just could not make a free throw to save their lives. And the problem is the guys that are shooting the free throws are the guys that can't make free throws, and that is an issue, sir. Mitchell Saxon's a really good player, shoots like 55%, and he ends up at the line way too much. Dukas, ironically enough, is a 68% free throw shooter and a 37% three-point shooter. What is not translating there? I don't understand. All of that being said, I do think that they're going to give themselves chances. Gonzaga at home, this is a game that they need, like you said. I think they end up winning that one.
Yeah, I think that they probably win, but I'm going to tend to lean on the side of the underdog on the road here. I'm not buying Gonzaga. I think that they don't have enough guard play. I don't think they have enough backcourt play, and it feels like St. Mary's has just kind of figured this thing out. So I think they go on the road.
Hey, Josh Jefferson's talented now.
Yeah, I think they got a real chance to win. I probably wouldn't take the money line. I'll probably stick with the points there, but I like St. Mary's. They can really, really guard. And you talk about these teams that slow down the pace and make life miserable. They slow down the pace and make life miserable. They've lost one time since that December 1st loss to Boise on a neutral court. T.O., this has been a blast, man.
Game. I did that.
That was your game? Yeah, they've lost one time since you showed up. You turned around their season.
You're welcome.
Turned around.
Checks in the mail, Randy Bennett. Checks in the mail.
He should be paying you, sir.
That's what I'm saying. Check needs to be in the mail. That's what I meant. I said it wrong.
Yeah, put the check in the mail. Not
put the check in the mail, Randy. Come on, Randy.
Invoices in the mail, Randy. The invoice in the mail. Listen, this has been fun. Hopefully the next time you hear from us, we will have the one and only John Fanta back with us. So for Terrence Oglesby, for John Fanta, RIP Jerry Fanta. See you guys next week.